Hey folks, Chris Van Viver here from WhyLogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro 10. And today I want to talk about something that's not very fun to talk about, but can be a huge problem in a hurry if you don't have the habits and techniques to resolve this problem. And that is backing up and restoring your sessions. Right? So sometimes Logic unexpectedly quits. Sometimes a plugin isn't playing well with Logic. When you try to start up Logic, it tries to start up, it crashes, and it tells you, hey, this plugin, we're having a problem with it, and it just won't open. Sometimes you forgot to hit save. Those things can be so frustrating where you're now Googling and trying to find answers to things, and you're just ready to put your fist through your Mac. But if you develop these habits, if you develop and understand these little sneaky tips, you can at least take this big problem and turn it into more of a slight inconvenience to your workflow. So I've got about 7 for you. A couple I'm sure you're aware of, but let's walk through them. Number 1, Command S for save. Please, please, please turn this into a habit, a reflex, just something you do constantly while you're working in Logic. Logic hinges on you to save all the time, and hopefully that'll be adapted or evolve in the future, but it relies on you to save. You could go to File, you could drag down a save every time you want to save, but Command S, I mean, the keys are so close together, it's just a good habit to make. So every time you do something with an arrangement or a mix or a recording, you just are hitting save, Command S all the time. I mean, I work with clients a lot, and could you imagine how bad it would reflect on me if we were recording, we got an awesome vocal take, and then the power went off in the building for some horrible reason, and I didn't have that take saved? I mean, that would reflect very poorly. So Command S, number 1. Number 2 is Logic's Autosave feature. So Autosave is directly related to when Logic unexpectedly quits. So Logic says, my bad, I screwed up. So in the background, it's saving along the way while you're working. So when it does that, it screws up and you reopen that project, it's going to give you the option. Do you want to open from the last time you personally hit Command S for save? Or do you want to open from the last autosave? Because Logic kept a backup right before it quit. So instead of losing hours of work, you maybe lost a couple minutes of work. That's huge. But this is tangentially related to Command S because Logic does not hold on to the autosaves after you personally quit out of Logic. That's an important distinction. People think that the autosave feature is there all the time. It's not. It's only when Logic messes up. If you quit, Logic determines that you personally have decided to quit. You hopefully have saved. It ditches the autosave files. Super important to remember. So from there, say that we're working on a mix and I accidentally, I screwed up the tempo or I screwed up something within the project. Oh man, this stinks. Got to go back to a previous saved version. Well, you can do that by going to File and Revert to. And this shows you all of the past saves that you have available to you. So say I've saved a few times and I want to see a backup 5 has the project that I want before I screwed anything up. You can revert to that. And the way that you manage the amount of saves you have available to you is to go to Logic, Preferences, General, and under the Project Handling tab is Auto Backup. And this is not related to Auto Save. This is related to when you hit Command S. So you can save as few as just the last alternate version or as many as the last 100 versions of when you hit Command S. Of course, your project will balloon in size if you're going to save so many of these versions. So I just keep it at 10. That seems to work for me. So File, Revert to go backwards in time. Now you can take a more proactive measure and you can set up an alternative under File, Project Alternatives. And this is like, say we're about to change the arrangement of this track. And it's like, we're in a pretty good spot right now. I want to change the arrangement, but I want to have, I want this version saved so I can go back to it if I need to. Now remember, the Revert to, the backups here is limited to how many backups you have set in the preferences. So I've set it to 10, so I don't want to rely on this in case I need to go backwards later. So you can set up a project alternative. You can set a new alternative and you can give it a new name like Alt3. Hit OK. And Logic is going to ask, do you want to save the changes made to this particular project and say, we've already saved. We're very happy with where it is. No, don't save. And now I've got a third alternative to work from. And alternatives stick around for as long as you want them around. So say we've changed the arrangement in alternative 3, but no, we liked it better how it was before. So I can go back to the last alternative. Logic will load the session. It's like a whole new project session. It loads. And although it looks no different, it's the last alternative that I wanted. So we're in a good spot. But say we're in a not so good spot. Say Logic just won't open, the file seems corrupted, a plugin is getting in the way, and it's getting really frustrating quickly. Well, let's quit out of Logic. So I'm going to hold the Option key and I'm going to double click on my session. Logic is going to load. And within this dialog that pops up, and you got to hold Option the whole time, you have the option of picking which alternative that you want to choose from. And within those alternatives, which backup you want to revert to. So maybe, I don't know, it seems since the last time you saved, the project is acting really screwy and won't open. Well, you can revert to a backup and try to open it. So let's just try this guy here, load. It's going to take a second. And now we've loaded to a previous backup. Say a plugin is getting in the way of you opening Logic. It keeps crashing and there seems to be a problem. For me, it was some Waves plugins and sometimes some SoundToys plugins. Was just not playing well with Logic. Logic would crash on startup. Well, let's quit out of Logic again. I'm going to bring up the Finder. So in this instance, I'm going to double click on my session. I'm going to hold Control after I double click on it. Double click, hold Control, Logic opens, and immediately there's a dialog that says, do you want to launch the core audio driver? This is awesome because if it's a plugin that's giving you a problem, if you select don't launch, Logic is going to open. And let's open the mixer once it fires up. And you'll see that all my plugins are inaccessible. So then you can hone in on, say, this is the plugin that has been giving me problems. It won't allow Logic to open. I can just set no plugin, go to Logic, Preferences, Audio, and re-enable Core Audio. And now all my plugins have been reinstantiated and ready to go. So those are two really good tips. Hold Option when you double click your project. It'll give you the option of picking a different alternative or backup to open from. Hold Control after you've double clicked the project's file to disable Core Audio in the case that a plugin is not playing well. But say everything you try is just not working. You can't open the session. It very well seems corrupted and is not working correctly. Let's open a new session. Okay. We're going to dig into the Finder. I'm going to find my Dropbox folder. I'm going to navigate to that project. And I'm going to open that session file. It's going to ask me which alternative do you want. We'll just stick to that one. So I have a whole nother post about how to import session data from different sessions into new ones. And that's what you're going to want to do here. Logic should be able to access the tracks, the content on those tracks, the plugins, sends, IO, automation, everything, the tempo. And you're going to be able to import this into a new session. I'm going to hit Add, Import. So it's probably going to take a bit. Okay, we're going to add all of the buses that it wants to refer to. So it's going to take quite a bit of time. But this is like your last opportunity to, you just can't get into your project. You're going to create a new project and import everything from that corrupted project into the new project. It's not as nice as hitting Command S. It's not as nice as holding Option when you double click on Logic, but This is a great way to recover a project that has been corrupted. So, 7 options for you. I hope that was helpful to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you liked what you heard, I highly suggest subscribing to the YouTube channel or subscribing on the website itself, whylogicprorules.com. Thank you so much.